Welcome to Revolution Report, the show that highlights pressing issues, uplifts community voices, and questions the status quo. I'm Sarah Livings-Walsh.
And I'm Analisa, Venolia.
We felt the need to dive deeper into societal problems and explore subjects from diverse perspectives. So join us in the revolution. This episode, we're going to be focusing on the lack of funding for the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, also known as SNAP or food stamps.
Millions of Americans are going to be impacted if the government doesn't get its act together, and we wanted to talk about it.
It's important to hold those in power accountable, and that's what we're going to be doing.
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
To start us off, let's talk about the reason we're even here in the first place. The government shutdown. The federal government, at this time of recording this episode, is still shut down, which means that programs that provide vital assistance to Americans aren't receiving the funds they need.
Now, this is a problem that could easily be solved if the Senate got its act together.
Absolutely.
However, we're currently in limbo, and many important federal functions have stopped or will stop soon. For example, many flights have been canceled because some air traffic controllers aren't working because they're not getting paid. And the military itself is facing not being able to pay the troops for their work soon.
SNAP is one of the federal programs affected by this shutdown and the one we're going to be discussing today. On November 1st, the day we're recording this episode, SNAP will stop receiving funding, which will eventually impact an estimated 41 million people.
That's so many.
Horrible.
4.4 million people are going to be impacted immediately, today, the day we're recording, not receiving their benefits on November 1st. And then the number grows to 17 million by November 5th, and 33 million by November 10th, with the number rounding out to that 41 million mentioned as the month continues.
41 million is a really large number and can be really difficult to conceptualize. So let's break that down. That is over 12% of the population that will be affected by the lack of SNAP funds and without food assistance. That is 1 in 8 Americans. 1 in 8. That is so many people who will not have access to food assistance they need to keep themselves or their families fed.
Absolutely infuriating.
Yeah.
And who is being affected by this? According to a study from 2023 by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the department that runs SNAP, 39% of the recipients of SNAP benefits are children.
Yeah. So keep that in mind to those people that are online just spouting absolute nonsense and hate right now, saying that, oh, people should just get a job, people should just get You're literally talking about children.
Yes, that is millions upon millions of kids who won't get the food assistance that they absolutely need. Their growing bodies, their children, their bodies need food. Like, their growth will literally be stunted if they don't get the proper nutrients.
Yes, and most of those kids on food stamps are in the foster care system.
Mm.
Or their parents have literally passed away.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind as you see this spouted hate in America right now.
Absolutely.
20% of people who receive SNAP benefits are elderly, and 10% of those recipients are non-elderly disabled people. This, quite literally, is going to have disastrous effects on people's lives.
Absolutely. Now let's look at another demographic metric of who's being affected by this absolute failure of the American government. Just under 3/4 of the people who receive food assistance live under the federal poverty line, and over 1/3 of SNAP recipients live under the deep poverty line.
Oh, this is... Yeah. This is an attack on some of the most vulnerable populations in the United States. If the government continues to stay shut down and SNAP doesn't get the essential funding it needs, what the federal government is essentially saying is that they don't care if 1 million Americans starve, which directly goes back to the point that we made about RFK wanting Americans to die. We have been calling this since the very beginning. We got extreme hate on that episode, but we will continue to speak the truth because it is what the people need to hear.
Yes, and we're not going to sugarcoat it just to make people feel better. That is the reality, and if you can't see that the government is more than happy to let literal millions of people starve, you need to wake up and get your head out of the propaganda, just nonsense that you're being fed. Wake up to the reality that the party in charge only cares about the wealthy. They don't care about the average American.
Yes, they are more likely to play political theater than to serve their constituents.
And speaking of political theater, both sides of the government are turning this into political theater. Republicans are blaming Democrats for refusing to reopen the government because Democrats want protections for health care in the proposed budget. And Democrats are blaming Republicans for their inability to compromise. Playing the blame game isn't helping the American people when literal lives are on the line. Humans need food to live. This is not an exaggeration that lives are on the line.
No. Yeah, sometimes I struggle with these types of topics because of my history with working in childcare. And working with families that are on SNAP, working with families, and all I can think about is those children. All I can think about is those families. And life shouldn't be this way. Life should not be this way. Life should not be this hard. And I don't care about the people in these comment sections and spouting this propaganda saying that people just need to work these days. People just need to do that. No, quite literally, we are in the biggest wealth disparity we have ever seen since the French Revolution.
Yeah.
And people got guillotined for that. People got guillotined for that.
Yeah. So when are the consequences coming for the people in power? We're not saying guillotine them.
No, we are not ever, ever going to promote violence on this station. Quite ever.
But what we are asking is there does need to be some form of consequence for the blatant disregard for American lives. And these people should be out of office.
Out of office completely. I am so sick of politicians using people in their livelihood, children, robbing them of their youth for a political power grab.
Absolutely. It is embarrassing. It is despicable. And it's also revealing your hand. All you care about is yourself and the people who helped you get into the position of power that you currently hold. You don't care about your constituents.
No, quite literally you do not. I mean, they're literally shutting down town halls. They do not want to hear from the people. They know that they're doing wrong. That's the issue. They know that they're doing wrong and they are deliberately choosing to not do anything about it. They are turning a blind eye to it. That is who's in power right now.
Yeah.
And for some people who might be wondering, well, what about food banks? Can't people just go there? The answer is that as wonderful as the resource of food banks are, they aren't equipped to handle the strain of increased demand. To quote a food bank worker, for every meal that a food bank provides, the SNAP program provides 9. There is no way we can meet that gap.
And yeah, that's a huge gap to fill. However, it's not all bad news.
Yeah.
At the time of recording, 24 states, that's almost half the states in the United States, including California, have allocated state funds to help mitigate the crisis. Leading the pack, California has fast-tracked $80 million so far to help. Unfortunately, though, states don't have the funds to fully supplement what they would have received from the federal government. Typically, overall, SNAP funding is around $8 billion a month. So those federal funds are really necessary.
Yeah. No, they are. And I'm so glad that these states have almost formed a coalition against this blatant just display of inhumane policy.
Yeah. It's about time.
It's about time. In more positive community news, some school districts, like the Los Angeles Unified School District or LAUSD, are providing students with 3 meals a day to help mitigate the crisis for families. And we could go into a topic, I mean, this could be a whole nother episode about kids being in debt for school lunch. A child should not be in debt.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that would make a brilliant episode for like another full episode.
Just a deep dive.
Yeah, we'll do it. We will absolutely do it. And that's a promise to you listeners.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, in more good news, communities are coming together to help their neighbors out. People are using social media to organize and become grocery buddies, buying groceries for their neighbors whose food assistance may run out.
Well, the news is wonderful, and it's incredible to see people show up for their communities, as they should. This isn't sustainable. Don't get us wrong. Community care is vital, and being involved in your community is a core value of this show and this station. But we shouldn't have to be in a position where individuals have to do this when the government should be getting its act together.
Absolutely. This shutdown has very, very real impacts on the lives of Americans. And unfortunately and predictably, the Trump administration doesn't care.
Yeah, and the absolute blatant lying on Truth Social that Trump is doing right now, talking about how, he didn't realize that he could be using the money that was allocated for this very, very thing, this very issue. This money was set aside by the government, by the way, to our listeners, that they would have a month of access to SNAP and all of that. But Trump is refusing to go into those funds. But I will say, on October 31st, 2 federal judges ruled that the government must fund SNAP. U.S. District Judge John McConnell went so far as to rule that the federal government must use contingency funds for the program, stating that the lack of food that is about to affect millions of Americans constitutes an emergency.
Both judges have asked the Trump administration to respond by Monday, November 3rd. After the judges' rulings on social media, Trump indicated that he was going to draw this process out in the courts, which will obviously affect millions of Americans' lives. But of course he doesn't care.
No, he doesn't care. He cares about his buddies getting richer and himself getting richer. Trump himself has accumulated more wealth in this presidency than he ever has.
We just checked this. Donald Trump has made around $1.2 billion off of crypto alone.
Yes.
While he has been president.
Yes, and these are not just made up numbers. We are fact checking. We are not just doing baseless claims on this show, as much as a lot of people would like to argue. No, these are the facts.
That's insane. Yeah. Wow.
Bringing it back to our discussion, you know how Republicans love to say America first? So much for that. Trump and his administration are too busy running a dictatorship and funding genocides to care about the lives of actual Americans.
True.
But unfortunately, our government historically doesn't care about Americans. As an example, in 2025 alone, the U.S. has sent, this is a real number, by the way, $3.8 billion in military funding to Israel. $16.7 billion in military aid since October 7th, and get this, over $300 billion in aid since 1946. Not all of that obviously happened under Trump.
But it's hugely significant. We directly fund Israel's military. Israeli troops get free healthcare. Imagine if instead of funding another country's military that is actively committing genocide, we use that money to help provide Americans free health care.
No, exactly. Exactly. And the government loves to talk about how universal health care is not something that we could ever do, that we could ever feasibly fund. But we are out here funding another country's
Yeah.
health care. Since 1946, the $300 billion that has been sent to Israel, $50 billion of that has been allocated for their economy. Now, granted, Israel gets subsidies for universities, for students. So we can argue that that money is being funded for universal health care and universal studies.
Yeah, imagine if that 50 billion was instead circulating in our own economy.
Yes.
Oh, that is absolutely infuriating.
Yes. And so, yes, neither side has explicitly said, I mean, they rebuke the claims, by the way, that we are funding Israel's healthcare and subsidies for university. But if you look at the numbers, we have obviously helped them to be able to do that.
Yeah. So why can't we help ourselves?
Yeah, and so this America First nonsense is just, I mean, at this point, they are looking at Americans as stupid, that they will fall for whatever they say.
And unfortunately, some Americans will, but not us and not our listeners.
Not our listeners. But that is how they are looking at you,
Yeah.
that you will believe anything that they say.
Yeah.
Now, circling back from our tangent, let's talk about what we can do to help our communities, since the federal government clearly doesn't care about Americans getting to eat, or healthcare, or anything of that matter.
As we stated earlier, food banks are under incredible stress to try and fill the gaps of SNAP. They can't do it alone. So consider donating to your local food bank. They need it now more than ever. And food banks need more than just food. Donations like menstrual products and sanitary items are vital as well.
And if you're in need, check out feedingamerica.com to find your local food bank. We'll make sure to include a link on our website as well, Handball Court Radio, and we will be donating as a company.
We absolutely will. And remember those social media groups we mentioned earlier? The grocery buddy groups? If you're able to, consider joining one of those and helping out where you can. If you need assistance, check out those groups to see how you can register to receive some help from your neighbors.
And last, but certainly not least, lobby your Congress people to open the government. Remember that they're the reason this is even happening in the first place. So you can visit congress.gov to find out how to contact them, and we'll include the link on our website as well, just to help you out.
Yeah, make it a little easier. This situation is horrible, but we don't have to sit back and do nothing. Let's step up for our communities and make our voices heard.
Let's do it.
That's about it for this episode. We hope it was informative.
As always, you can check out our website, handballcourtradio.com. You can also follow us on Blue Sky at Handball Court Radio. And you can also follow me there at Sarah Livings-Walsh.
I'm there as Not Like Mona Lisa. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and share so you don't miss our content. And don't forget to rate, review, and follow us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
And with that, I'm Sarah Livings-Walsh.
I'm Analisa Venolia.
And this has been Revolution Report.